Becoming a successful professional speaker is a journey. How do you find that first stage, the next stage, and then the bigger and better stages? I'm Lee Hayes, your host. My co-hosts and I are here to guide you to a more successful speaking career. You're listening to Path to the Main Stage podcast. Hey everybody! Today you've got to think about your look. What you look like on the internet, on your social, on your video, because it lasts forever. You need to think about the quality, the content, but luckily I have the expert for you. Today my co-host is Diana Castro, who has been doing video since she was 16 years old, by the look of her, which was about 5 years ago, but that's another story. But Diana started when she bought her very first camcorder. She knew she wanted to be in TV, in film, in production. She willed it, and it happened. So Diana has been she has been creating marketing visibility through her company, 4Productions. You can look her up, 4productions.com, for years. But she's been to film school. She's worked in TV. She's worked behind the scenes in films. She started out in her church because you've got to start just producing for someone. And now she and her husband run the company. So she is my expert today. Thank you so much Diana, for joining me.
Thank you so much, Lee. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. So let me start just about your company, just to get a basis on your expertise. Can you tell me a little bit about 4Productions? What is it you do? I know you work with speakers, authors, doctors, attorneys, anybody who needs visibility with their brand. But what do you do for them? What is 4Productions?
So our main mission is to amplify the voices of those who are here to do good in the world, to create more wisdom, more love, more connection. I believe that everybody was born with an innate gift, and it is your responsibility to put it out in the world so as many people see it and as many people you get to touch. And my responsibility is to help people go through that in a way that feels easy and it just flows. Like, the idea is that content can feel overwhelming. My job is to make it feel as easy, as cohesive, as effortless as possible. And that's what I do through the work that we work with clients.
So I love when you say that the content should be easy. So it sounds like it should be easy both for the audience, right? The people listening to it, that it's comfortable and inviting and helpful, I guess. But also you make it easy for the person producing it. Is it possible to make this easy?
So content creation can be overwhelming. There is ideation and planning and strategy and filming, logistics, lights, sound, editing, and then distribution, posting, right? And then the cycles goes all over again. And sometimes it becomes so overwhelming for people that they just simply give up. Or they do some of that work and then they stopped at the most important step, which is distribution. Like that video that you created, you put all of that time and effort, and it's sitting in a hard drive somewhere in your computer, lost, looking for the day someone will give it the light so that it can impact many, many people. And when I started creating content with my husband, not for the big brands, we did that, like managing a lot of egos was not fun. So we wanted to come down to earth, and the people who we felt the most attracted to and the people that we were attracting more were people who were visionaries, people who had missions bigger than themselves. And those happen to be speakers, authors, coaches, like people who have devoted their life to something that they feel passionate about. So it becomes easier for them to kind of like want to talk about it. But sometimes they get so stuck. And my job is either, if you need support in ideation, let's do that. And clarity, make sure that you understand like how your audience needs you, where are they looking for you, what are they asking. So if you need support with that part, I can support that. Or if you need help with the strategy, I can do that. Or if, it depends on which stage, filming, planning, editing, or just one portion of it. And then the idea is to make it as effortless as possible.
So if people are trying to do this on their own, I would love to have you help them through the steps right now. You mentioned first the ideation and actually the audience. I think the audience comes first. So maybe I'll let you answer that. Where do you start? So I, as a speaker, for example, want to create content. Where should I start? Do I start with audience? Do I start with my topic? Like, where do I start with this?
There's three main legs to content. One of them is, in order to be able to impact people, you got to know yourself. You got to know your values, your non-negotiables, who are you? What is your truth? The other leg is understanding your audience 1000%. Like, you get to explore their brain inside out so that you understand their fears and their desires and all of the things that would impact their life through what you show up. And then the last part, which sometimes people don't think about, is where is it that they are going to find you? Like how are we driving traffic to you? Like, what is the system that ensures that all of that work doesn't just stays numb, like in space? Because a lot of people create content and they put it out there, but there's no path back to them. So there's not a full circle into the entire conversation. And those three things are the legs in which you consider to create content. Like, that's strategy. And there's two distinctions. I often see a lot of, especially speakers, authors, because in my opinion, there are two different types of creators. There are the creators who create for the sake of being employed by YouTube or TikTok. Those are content creators for the sake of content creation. And then there's entrepreneurs that they leverage the platforms and they leverage the systems that content creators have, but they do it with a back end that leads back to their services, their mission, their impact. And that is a completely different strategy and different positioning and different thinking that gets to be considered when in that path of content creation.
You bring up such a good point. I hadn't thought about that before. I always think of, when you're creating, it's for content creation, right? It's just to put your ideas out to the universe. And I guess I previously thought more about people will see my content and then say, oh, we'll find her. But you make such a good point that entrepreneurs need to complete the circle. That's how you said, complete the circle. How do you complete the circle? How do you bring them back to where you need them to be? Most speakers have a website or a speaker manager or bureau. How do we complete that circle to make sure that our content is doing what we need it to do?
Great question. As a brand strategist and visibility strategist, there are tiny details that you can take care of. Like, some people don't take advantage of Instagram and YouTube, their actual systems. So that's one way of doing it. So making sure that all of the details lead back to a conversation to you. Sometimes people don't even have links to their website or links to start a conversation. And all of the platforms allow for that to be there. So not all content should have a call me, like, look at me, because people have become resistant of that type of marketing. So understanding that not all marketing should have that, but some marketing still needs to have it. So that's part of it. Is a game of, it's like a cha-cha-cha. You 2 steps forward, 1 step back, like you get to, dance through it. That's one way of doing it. The other thing is to drop nuggets of comment. If you would like to get X and X resource, go to my website, check the link on bio, or even have tools that allow for those trigger words to activate so that there's lead magnets getting information from your ideal customer to come back to you. So for example, if someone was to do a podcast, In your own podcast, you can include a mid-roll. A mid-roll is like a commercial. It's like if you're sponsoring your own show, and you can say, hey, before we continue the conversation, I would like to give you X, Y, and Z so that you can X, Y, and Z. And you can do that by scanning the QR code or checking out the show notes. And let's go back to the conversation. Little nuggets of, here, I have something for you, come and find me. Because what gets misunderstood sometimes is that if in the event that, let's say, TikTok goes out of business or YouTube gets fined and like they stop working, like who owns that audience? Like if if they turn off that button, or you get like flagged and they don't like turn on your channel anymore, you're building an empire in someone else's land. And the entire point of content creation from the perspective of an entrepreneur is to own the contact of your audience. So how do you do that? By creating lead magnets, attracting people to you. Maybe they're not ready to buy right now, but they will be ready to buy eventually as you nurture that relationship through other pieces of content or through other points of contact. And that is part of the game of content creation. That if you're creating content for the sake of just creating content, there's so many opportunities that you're missing that like you don't have to. Like there are ways for you to be able to create systems around you to build a business that will create a path for monetization, not only through YouTube or Instagram or Reels, but through other means. Like if you built an email list that in a few years you actually publish your book, now you have people who would who know you, who have like contact you before and saying, hey, I check this out. Now there's an audience. And as a speaker, as someone who lives through the impact of impacting many, many, many people, that's another way of looking at it. You're not only on the stage when you are on a stage, your email list is your stage.
So important. Yeah. So you had mentioned just before we started here, how your image lasts forever on the internet, wherever. I mean, you can take down websites, you can take down posts, but most of what you produce is going to be out there forever. So thinking of that, what is the most important thing? You talked about image a little bit. Can you talk about your appearance, your image, the way you come across? What's important, and how do we make it the best we can?
As a speaker, one of your biggest assets is your presence, how you show up. And like sometimes even the way you dress speaks before you even open your mouth. Like how your makeup is, if my hair was like, like showing up and I was like this, like all messed up. With video, things get so amplified. Like when you're serious on video, you look like you're upset. Like you look like you're sad. Like if I'm just paying attention and sometimes I'm like this, like people kind of get a sense of, is she upset? Is she mad? So when you're on camera, my invitation for everyone to consider is look as close as the badass that you are. Do your makeup, do your hair, show up fully in full glam, whatever makes you feel like a rock star. And not everybody identifies with makeup and hair, but I think the way you feel about how you look impacts even your energy, like how you stand. Those things matter when you are going to be in a podcast, when you're invited to be on stage. Like if you look frumpy, no matter what we say, as much as we try not to be biased in the world, we start creating stories about that person, and about how they showed up. So for the love of God, please look your best, especially if you are leveraging your image and your likeness, and your image matters, and that's what part of the whole package that you are selling.
And it's amazing how I was just thinking about like the rag tabloids, which I guess are not much in supermarkets anymore. They used to be, but I'm sure they're online. That people will go out of their way to find images of people looking their worst.
Yeah.
Right. So I would say make sure that most of your images out there look great, because that's the way you want to come across, right? You don't want to, like you said, you don't want to be the dumpy, frumpy, mad, or uninteresting person, right? You want to present the best you can. So
Yeah, and here's the other part I also want to point out, because I think is equally valuable. Like if you are being invited to be a guest at a podcast, if you're being invited to be on stage, no matter how big or how small the stage is you behave as the big vision that you want for, the impact that you want to make, right? This is something I tell my girls, how you show up for the little things is how you show up for the big things. That being said, I don't want to stop people from, like if there's a day that you want to create a video about anything and you don't have full makeup, I feel that in this moment in time, people are a lot more forgiving, and there's a need for people to see also a more unpolished side of you that doesn't have to be all full glam out. But that's not necessarily what you're going to put in your speaker reel. So, everything within context. Like people do want to see your authentic, self, like maybe not full makeup on, talking about something that changed your day or something that is impactful for your audience. And that is also okay, you have permission as well. It's not like unless you have full makeup on and high heels, do not show. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is, depending on what the circumstances are, if you're invited to speak, sometimes people don't take specific invitations that serious, and they show up not necessarily in their best light. And then I often hear I so regret not have taken an extra hour for X, Y, and like for this event, and like you can't go back in time. I wish we could, pero.
Well, it's funny. Many speaking events, the speaking planners, not the planners, but like the production, the speaker, the event producers will ask me, does the speaker want makeup? Especially when it's men. They'll say, we offer makeup. Do they want makeup? And half of my speakers say, of course I do. And half of them go, oh, no, I don't want that. But I think what they forget is it's not necessarily vanity or looking like someone you're not, but just coming across as a professional, right? So I know that under lights, right, people wash out, they fade out, they look pale, they can get bags under their eyes because of shadows. Makeup's a good idea, even for men. So remember that. It's not that you're looking girly. It's that you're looking your best, that you're looking bright under those lights.
And especially for men, let me just bust a myth. Is translucent powder is not meant to change the color of your skin or transform you in a way that you're going to look different, especially for my male people. They are specifically to take away the shyness from your skin. So if you have translucent powder, if your skin looks a little bit shiny, it could look sweaty on camera, and that's not a very glamorous look for for men or for girls, or for women. But it's more of a little powder is not going to do anything, and translucent powder is not going to affect the color of your skin, especially with so many different shades and tones of skin that we have and we cater to. That powder is just meant to take all the sweaty look out.
Good point. Now, we had talked before about speaker reels, and one thing you said to me again before we came on the air here was, don't cheap out. How do speakers hurt themselves by going cheap on a speaker reel?
Okay, so if this is the instrument in which you're going to present yourself to monetize this gift of yours, the worst thing you can do is to try, like try to get it for, $400. Like the cheapest way out, it's you get what you pay for, right? And obviously, I also want to be mindful that, there's different stages in your career. Like the beginning stages are different because they're more, like you're leveraging. It's like, which is first, the egg or the chicken? Like you want to be able to be put on stages, and at the same time you cannot be put on stages until you have a speaker reel. So it becomes this dichotomy of like, what do I do first? So I understand that, there may be a need, or you want to be wise with how you spend your money. So that is totally understandable. And I also believe strongly that you honor the stage in which you're in as well. So trying to get a speaker reel that looks like, the Tony Robbins one when you're just starting, that, like those speaker reels are $25K and above. Like that's like another world of speaker experience. But if you're in the beginning stages, anything that, like you're going to pay something in the realm of upwards 3,000s to like 5, 6, 7,000, and that is a very fair price depending on what you're creating for a video that is going to land you a job that, 1 or 2 speaking gigs are going to pay for that investment. So if you look at it from the mindset of an investing in your career, if you're really serious about speaking, then you get to make important investing decisions about this particular job that you are applying for.
And now, how do I do this early on? So a lot of the audience is emerging speakers that maybe don't have these big stages. Should they just wait, or what do you do to find a stage look?
Okay, great question. So I feel like I believe in something one of my mentors taught me. Is like, if the stage is not there for me, I create the stage for me. So that means you can go out and pitch yourself for speaking at a community college. You can speak at your church. Like, give yourself the opportunity to be filmed on a stage, because we can gather as many clips from those different stages to tell whoever's going to hire you to speak, this person is trusted on a stage. That is what you're selling. You're selling, I've been trusted with, a group of people to deliver a message, and I can do it. So if this is something serious, do it, invest on it, hire a cameraman. If you don't have the budget to do that, now like even your iPhone is good enough for filming footage. And here's a tip: film as many different angles as possible, and the minimum time a camera should be on steady, like nothing like this, like get a tripod, get something, steady, is 10 seconds. Sometimes people go, okay, 1, 2, 3, like 1, 2, 3, and then there's not enough meat in the bones to be able to stitch something that makes like cohesive sense for footage. So things that you're going to need: medium shots, like something that is medium, wide shots when we see the full stage, over the shoulders, like behind heads, so we can see that there's people behind you, reaction shots from your audience. And again, please, I beg you, at least 10 seconds on a steady camera. The other thing that you will never hear me say to anyone any other place but this is, audio for this type of footage is not as important. And I will never say that out of context in any other thing, because audio is the most important thing in a video. Like, people would be okay with, like this image being blue or yellow or pink, but what would not be okay is if my audio sounds horrible. People will disengage. But for the purposes of a speaker reel, audio becomes secondary. Image, it's something that you can use because we can leverage the image with voiceover, and then that's something that we can leverage. So I hope that.
So that was my question, was if it's a speaker who depends on audio, and you're saying they don't need good audio, you're gonna create the story with their voiceover?
So there's different ways of creating a speaker reel. When I have a framework that I created that I love because it allows for someone who's just starting, that doesn't have a lot of footage, to have a presentation letter. So for this type of video, when you're just starting with this, as long as we have different shots with different, on different stages, different opportunities that we can leverage, yes, that can be used. We can have an interview that is professionally done, letting people know 5 different things. So I'll give you the framework of how I do it. The why people should listen to you. Like what is the thing that you solve for them? Like why? Then it's who's the person, who's your audience. The next one is how are you different from others in your field, and how you show up for them. The other one is what problems you solve and what speaking topics they should hire you for. And then the last one is where they will find you. So that framework, if you answer those 5 questions for the purposes of your speaker reel, then you can sprinkle on top supportive footage with you on different stages. And if we don't have footage for that, then your face will be, delivering the message, and that combination can definitely, it's part of the recipe of a speaker reel.
Okay, I'm going to jump back to social now.
Go ahead.
Social media can become so just like all-encompassing and engulfing, and you feel you always have to make more. It's so time-consuming. How am I going to do this? But you had mentioned that you offer retreats where somebody can create a year's worth of content in a short time. How would somebody go about creating a lot of content in a short amount of time?
Ooh, this is so much fun to answer. All right, so yes, the way that I do it is, number one, we always start with clarity. And we need to understand each other. Like, we need to understand who you are, what your values are, what your services are, how people find you, what is your customer journey. And from that, then there is a plan to be built. And we want to understand how are people looking for you? How do you feel the most comfortable on camera? All of that gives us an idea of what would be the best content for you. So let's say that your audience and your content and what you deliver, it's a perfect match for a podcast. Then I would recommend a podcast. And then what happens is once people are ready for filming, they could, with me, at least this is my process, people can film with me either in Medellin, Colombia, or in Miami, Florida, because I live in both places. And it's super easy. First day you arrive, at least my process, first day you arrive, I'm not going to ask you for anything. Just go have a tequila, whatever, a little wine, rest. Because the next day, second day, it would be more of a behind the scenes shoot, more of lifestyle, more of us, me coaching you into how the day is going to look like. Maybe we do some behind the scenes and some more, this is the day in the life of type of footage. Third day is a full day of production, 10 hours straight. If we do a podcast, we film podcasts back to back. So in one day, we get to film about 7 podcast episodes, about 45 minutes each. And the best part about that type of content is that each long segment can become about 33 pieces of content. So if you do the math, even with those 7 episodes, you already have enough content, of actual meat and potatoes, really good insight information that you can leverage throughout all of your socials. And then the next day, they could either do another day. That's the day where they get a freebie to choose. They either get to do another video sales letters, whatever talking head videos they need to do for their marketing. All of that's established on the planning. Or they get to do a day for just having fun and getting filmed, a behind the scenes, and getting quotes out of them, another day of podcasting if they want to, so they can have like, 14 months of content fully developed in that. And then the last day is more of like, okay, go have fun, and like that's it, we're wrapping up. So in 5 days we get to film over 300 pieces of content, like, and that can give us enough content for us to support, either you take the content and you edit it and post it yourself, or we can take care of the entire process: ideation, planning, filming, strategy, filming, posting, editing and posting. And that's my 5 day filming system with clients.
Okay, and if people want to do it on their own, what I'm hearing is the different things they should think about is, like you said, they can do long pieces of content, which can be split up.
Yes.
Behind the scenes, obviously a little tougher on your own, but you can do that where it's more, I guess what you're saying is it's not from you, it's about you. Is that what you're doing in the day of a life, or day in the life?
So
Where it's more about the speaker and looking sort of at them versus them just talking to camera?
I think it's a little bit of both. Like, we've had instances where people could, like, we could be walking and I'm asking questions about what they think about X, Y, and Z, and they get to answer equivalent, like on the go as they're having coffee. We also do like lifestyle shots where we do like as if it was a portrait photo, but like in slow motion, and beauty shots. So it really depends on whatever we decided on strategy. So if it's more convenient for you to have, a teleprompter and, be like more setup system, then that's what we do. But the behind the scenes is also a way of like getting people to see your humanity. Like, it's not the full makeup thing. It's like you getting ready, telling people what's going on. It's more of like a blog kind of content that gives people like a sense of, oh, I'm in the hotel room with this person. Oh, and like there's different things that we can do to make sure that your voice, your humanity, and your message kind of like unite. And that's, I think, like the world that we live in right now is asking for people to also share part of their humanity, like part of their daily life, like talking about, what made you get into this field, or, what do you like? What movies are you watching? Like, what things are you doing? And like, just this person also likes the Smurfs. Or this person also likes, Metallica, my band. Like, how are you, like, someone I can trust? And I'm sure if you can relate, like I just noticed my purchasing behavior when I was looking for a pediatrician for my daughter. I don't know if it's happened to you, Lean, but I was looking at different people. I was looking at their socials, and what got me to hire this pediatrician was that she was talking about her morning routine and what she ate for breakfast, and I just thought like, what a lovely lady. It had nothing to do with her credentials. Obviously, I want to hire a good pediatrician, but like she made me feel like
you felt a connection.
Yeah, like she's just like a normal human. Like I felt like how cute she's taking pictures with her own toddler, and she has a toddler, and like that was so sweet. And it was not about like, let me tell you how, your kids should eat. Like that became secondary. And I don't know if anyone can relate, but I am very aware of, or at least I try to be very aware of how I make purchasing decisions. And sometimes it has nothing to do with, like them telling me, what my kids should eat, or anything that is like the profession itself, but more of like, is this a human I can trust? And that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and I think that is so important in speaking. I can certainly tell listeners that when I get requests for speakers, half of the time it's content, right? I want a leadership speaker, I want a culture speaker, but half of the time when they contact me, it's just what you're describing. I follow this person because I feel connected with them, or they feel somehow a connection to the speaker. And it's not just their content, it's also, air quotes here for people who aren't watching, who they are. Mm-hmm. So that's very important. So I really see that half of a content for a speaker should not be their content, but who they are. How do you relate? How can an audience relate to you? I love that. You just really made me think how important lifestyle image is, because that really is a big part of where clients connect.
And I think also people sometimes are so afraid, and I include myself into this bunch of like people, quote unquote, air quotes, that we're so afraid of people rejecting us because they might not see the world in the same lens that we do. If we believe, just to put out there, like if you believe in equality, or if you are a Christian, or if you are agnostic, or if you like sometimes we're so self-conscious, at least my generation, and because of my culture, I was always like, there's certain things we don't talk about in public, and like there's like all of this like social behavioral rules that somehow for this generations is like been thrown out the window. And I'm like, why would you post something like that, for the love of God? But it feels like there's more acceptance to like specific topics. And ultimately, if my invitation for people to consider is, if they're not going to like you for who you are, then there's no business of you doing business with them. Like sometimes we're just so afraid of people rejecting us that we reject ourselves, and in the process we lose like connection to the ones who are gonna say, oh my God, this person is like die-hard fans, like, oh my God, like yes, everything she says is like gold because there's similar values. But if someone is approaching you and if they would meet you in person and they wouldn't like you, or they would mistreat you because, let's say, your sexual orientation, you're afraid to tell people, X about yourself. If they wouldn't like you, then why are we so concerned about like impressing them? If so, just a food for thought, because I think it matters.
Yeah, we need less fear of rejection, and we'll get stronger connection, is what I'm hearing, right? There it is in a nutshell. All right, one more question before we wrap up. You had talked about the ideation, the creation, the filming, all these things, the editing, and you said so many speakers or other professionals who need a self-image, they fall off at posting. Where should people be posting? How often should they be posting? And if it's difficult for them, how do you get that done? Tell us, how do we actually get this stuff out there?
So there is something called delegation. If you have noticed that it's just really not, like, it's not in your bandwidth, it's just like, then the ultimate solution is to delegate. Mm-hmm. So that's if you notice that you do all the things and then you're stuck in that space, because it also, as much as I am a visibility expert and I do visibility branding and all of this stuff, sometimes it's hard even for me to like schedule filming time. So that's something that I need to delegate so that I am kept accountable and there's progress in that. So that's one. And then where should they be posting? That's a really, really important question. And I have a theory. To me, YouTube, now Instagram is now a search engine, and TikTok are where most of any audience goes to for searching information. So my main strategy is post content for YouTube and leverage the content snippets or content that comes from that to Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. And ultimately, you should be posting where your people hang out. So now there's Substack, like there's so many different places right now. Mm-hmm. It just gets to be more intentional once you really hone down on your audience and what is it that they're looking for. So for example, Pinterest for interior designers is something that is being under, like it's not being exploded as much as it should, because it's not, people don't consider it a posting platform, but it's video friendly. People go there to have ideas of, how should I design my home? And if in the process an interior designer is found there, it's like
then it's the right place, right?
Breadcrumbs, exactly. It's like I don't like to use the word should, but here, you should be posting where your people hang out. And to me, the data shows that most people, like from all ranges of ages, are in YouTube. So for me, that's like kind of a default. But on top of that, consider where your audience hangs out and then be there.
Yeah, no, that circles us right back to the beginning where we started, is you have to know your audience. And once you know your audience, find out where they are, and that's where you need to be posting. And I love the delegation, because quick shout outs. Thank you, Thrive Loud. Lou Diamond is my producer. I don't produce my podcast. Thank you, Christine. She posts on my social for me. I am awful about posting. So I just wanted to put those out there that I am a delegator. And and thank you to Bettina, who does all of my email blasts for me. She manages that. So absolutely believe in delegation. All right, Diana, I want to wrap up here with a question for you about you. So a lot of my listeners are emerging speakers. They're starting out. You have been in the world of media and production for a long time. Again, everyone can find Diana at forproduction.com. If you could go back in time to Diana, who was just starting out with your first camcorder perhaps, or maybe your first professional gig, what advice would you give yourself? What is that one thing that you wish you knew then that you're an expert at now?
That everything was going to work out, that I was in the right path, to just trust the process and enjoy the ride. I mean, this is what I was born to do. There's no question about it. This is in my DNA, my bones. Like, I live, breathe, and like, this is my mission, So for me, it's more of like the roller coaster is part of it, and just enjoy the ride.
And there you go. To quote old Nike, just do it, right? If this is in your DNA, just do it. So thank you, everyone, for joining me on this week's episode of Path to the Main Stage podcast. I love bringing you these great co-hosts that just drop these nuggets of information. I love when I hear from you that you're taking notes during the podcast. That's wonderful. And if you do need help, here's my little plug. Please come find me on pathtothemainstage.com. I do help speakers one-on-one with coaching to getting you to the main stage, so you can look me up. Thanks so much. See you soon.
Thanks for listening to Path to the Main Stage. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And for full video episodes, check out YouTube. If you want to be a successful speaker, you need to make it happen. My co-hosts and I are here to help guide you. But if you need more help, please check out pathtothemainstage.com, where we can connect. And until next time, keep sharing your voice, keep showing up, and keep taking your path to the main stage.